When I received the court summons for the divorce case, I barely made it home carrying grocery bags from the store. But when I looked behind our family photo to throw it away, I froze. Snow was slowly falling to the ground, covering dirty puddles and last year's decaying leaves. I stood on the steps of the post office, holding a thin envelope, and felt the ground slip away beneath my feet. The official stamp in the upper corner left no doubt. A court summons for a divorce hearing. My husband, Andre, had finally filed for divorce. I clutched the envelope until my fingers hurt, trying to suppress the trembling. People walked past, busy with their own affairs. Someone was talking on the phone. Someone was laughing. Just another ordinary day for them. The end of the world for me. We had been married for 15 years. 15 years that flew by like a single day. I still remembered how we met at a mutual friend's birthday party, how he looked at me from across the room, how he walked me home afterward, telling me about his work at the architecture bureau, how nervous he was when he proposed. I remembered everything, down to the smallest detail, and never imagined that our story would end like this, in a dry line of text on a court notice. The last year had been difficult for both of us. Andre grew more and more distant, stayed late at work, and I tried to pretend everything was fine, that our marriage could still be saved. Even when he moved out 2 months ago, saying he needed time to think, I still hoped for the best. And now, the envelope in my hands crushed that last hope. I mechanically shoved the summons into my coat pocket and slowly headed toward the nearest supermarket. I needed to buy groceries. The fridge had been empty for 3 days, but I hadn't had the strength even for a simple shopping trip. Now I just wanted to do something mundane, normal, something that would keep me from thinking about how my marriage was falling apart for good. Wandering between the shelves, I mechanically placed the usual items into my basket: bread, milk, cheese, apples, the ones Andre loved. I mentally scolded myself. I don't need to buy what he likes anymore. I don't need to think about him at all. But how do you stop thinking about someone you've lived with for 15 years? At the checkout, a ridiculous thought crossed my mind. I don't even know what he's accusing me of in this divorce. The summons only included dry legal language, the date and time of the hearing. Maybe he found someone else? My heart clenched at the thought. I never gave him a reason to doubt my loyalty. I never even let myself think of another man. I lived in a small but cozy house on the outskirts of town. Andre and I had bought it together, taking out a mortgage. We spent nearly 10 years paying it off, denying ourselves many things for the sake of owning our home. And now what would happen to it? Who would get the house after the divorce? As I approached the house, I saw that the snow had intensified. Large flakes fell to the ground, creating an illusion of purity and renewal, as if nature was trying to cover up everything ugly under a white blanket. If only emotional wounds could be so easily concealed. I opened the door with my key and entered the quiet, empty house. It used to be full of noise. Andre loved loud music, often invited friends over. Now the silence pressed on my ears, a constant reminder of my loneliness. I went to the kitchen and began unpacking the groceries. My hands moved automatically, putting everything in its place, but my thoughts were far away. I was replaying our past, trying to pinpoint exactly where we had gone wrong. When did our relationship begin to fall apart? Maybe it started 3 years ago, When Andre didn't get the promotion he had hoped for, he took it hard, became irritable, and withdrawn. Or 2 years ago, when we had a miscarriage, we had been dreaming of a child, making plans, choosing names, and then the hospital, despair, and a silence between us that we never managed to fill. After finishing in the kitchen, I walked into the living room and sank heavily onto the couch. My gaze fell on a large family photo hanging on the opposite wall. Our wedding. Me in a white dress, happy, radiant. Andre, in a suit, handsome and confident. We were looking at each other with a love that seemed eternal. A lump rose in my throat. I couldn't bear to look at that photo anymore. I couldn't see our happy faces, knowing that all of it was in the past. I got up abruptly, walked over to the wall, and took the photo down. It was heavy, in a wooden frame. I held it in my hands and didn't know what to do. Throw it away? Hide it? Keep it as a reminder that I was once happy. The decision came suddenly. I would put it in the attic, along with other things that reminded me of Andre. I would create a space in the house free from memories, a space where I could begin to live again. But before I took the photo to the attic, I decided to look at it one last time. I turned the frame over to remove the photo, and then, from behind the cardboard backing, a small key fell out. A simple key for a mailbox or a small lock. I had never seen it before. I turned the key over in my hands, trying to guess its purpose. And then it hit me. The safe. In Andre's office, there was a small safe I had nearly forgotten about. He bought it years ago, saying he wanted to keep important documents there. I had never asked about its contents, respecting his privacy. He never offered to show me what was inside. With my heart pounding, I went up to his office. I had barely entered this room since he left. Too many memories. Too strong the scent of his cologne. The safe was still in its usual spot, in the corner behind the desk, small and unobtrusive. I approached it with the key in hand. It fit perfectly. The lock clicked, and the safe door opened. Inside was a stack of documents. On top, a rental agreement. I unfolded it and felt the blood drain from my face. A lease for an apartment in Andre Volkov's name. The apartment was in the city center, in a luxury complex. The lease had been signed a year ago. A whole year. He had a separate apartment all this time, and I had known nothing about it. I kept flipping through the documents. Bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Large sums of money, regularly received from a company I'd never heard of. Much more than Andre's official salary. Where did this money come from? Why had he hidden it from me? Beneath the statements were photographs. I picked them up with trembling hands, and almost immediately dropped them, as if they burned my fingers. Andre and a woman, young, beautiful. They were embracing, laughing, looking at each other with loving eyes. In one of the photos, they held a birth certificate. Their child. Judging by the dates, a boy who must be about a year old now. My head spun. The room blurred before my eyes. I grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. I put all the documents and photographs into a folder and placed it in my bag. This is my weapon, my only advantage in the upcoming battle. As I left the house, I cast one last glance at the shattered wedding photo. The shards of glass sparkled in the winter sunlight, creating a strange pattern. Symbolic. Our marriage had also shattered to pieces, leaving behind only sharp fragments that could still cut. Larissa's office was in the city center, in a modern business complex. I hadn't been in this part of town for a long time and was surprised at how much had changed. New buildings, shops, cafes. Life had moved on while I was stewing in my own little world, noticing nothing around me. Larissa met me in the lobby. Her office suited her, strict and functional, but with touches of warmth. Photographs on the walls, live flowers on the windowsill. Larissa sat me down in a chair and took the one opposite. Now, tell me everything from the beginning. And I did. About the court summons, the key to the safe, the documents and photos I'd found, and Andre's call and his desire to explain everything. Larissa listened attentively, not interrupting, only occasionally frowning or nodding. When I finished, she stood up and went to the window, standing there for a while looking at the city below. So, he hid income, rented another apartment, and started a second family, and still had the nerve to file for divorce from you. She shook her head. Well, legally this gives us an advantage. Infidelity, hidden assets. We can use all of it in court. I pulled the folder from my bag and handed it to her. This is everything I found. Larissa began methodically going through the contents. Her face grew more focused the deeper she read. This is serious, she finally said. Very serious. There's proof of infidelity, concealed income, and even possible fraud. These payments from the company, do you know what kind of company it is? I shook my head. Never heard of it. Andre never mentioned any extra income. Larissa made a note in her notebook. We'll need to check it out. He might be involved in something illegal or at least questionable from a tax perspective. She continued reviewing the documents, sometimes stopping to make notes or ask questions. I answered as best I could, but realized I knew very little about my own husband's life. Finally, Larissa closed the folder and looked at me. Here's what I think. You have every right to demand not only half of the jointly acquired property, but also compensation for moral damages. Given his cheating and financial secrecy, the court may take your side. But we need to act carefully, not scare him off too soon. What do you suggest? I asked, feeling hope stir inside me. Maybe I wouldn't come out of this completely broken. First, don't let him know you're aware of the second family. Let him think you're still in the dark. Second, I'll prepare all the legal documents based on the information you gave me. Third, we can try to reach a settlement, but on our terms. And if he refuses, we go to court and lay everything out. Larissa smiled, and there was something predatory in her smile. Believe me, he won't want this going public, especially if his business is tied to something shady. I nodded. The plan sounded reasonable, though the pain and bitterness still lingered inside. You know what hurts the most? I said, my voice trembling. It's not that he started another family, or even has a child with another woman. It's that he lied to me, looked me in the eyes and lied every day, every minute. Larissa came over and put her hand on my shoulder. I know it hurts. That's normal. But remember one thing. You did nothing wrong. You didn't deserve this, and you have every right to fight for yourself and your future. I looked at her gratefully. There was strength in her words, something I badly needed. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for being here for me. We've known each other since college. I'm not going to abandon you now. She glanced at the clock. It's almost 5. You said he'd be here at 7? Yes. Good. We still have time. Let's talk about how you should behave when he arrives. We spent the next hour developing a strategy. I was to appear surprised by his decision to divorce, but not hysterical, calm, but not indifferent. Most importantly, I must not show that I knew about his second life. When we finished, Larissa walked me to the building's exit. "Call me right after you talk to him," she said, hugging me. "And be careful. People backed into a corner can be unpredictable." I nodded, grateful for her support and care. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. On the way home, I thought about the upcoming conversation with Andre. What would he say? How would he explain his decision to divorce? Would he tell the truth or make up another lie? I got home half an hour before he was due, had time to shower, change, and even drink a cup of tea to calm my nerves. The shards of the broken photo were still lying on the living room floor. I didn't clean them up, let him see I wasn't going to preserve memories of our fake happiness. Exactly at 7, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and went to open the door. Andre stood there with a bouquet of flowers. He looked good, better than the last time I saw him. Rested, fit. Apparently, life without me suited him. I went to the kitchen, using the moment to collect my thoughts. Into the sink. I had neither the strength nor the desire to fuss with them. A few minutes later, I returned. Andre was standing by the window looking at the snowy garden. He turned when he heard my footsteps. His eyes landed on the shards on the floor. "What happened?" he asked, nodding toward them. "I dropped the photo from the wall," I said calmly. "I couldn't catch it." He nodded, didn't press further, and sat on the couch. I sat in the armchair opposite, keeping a safe distance. "You got the summons," he began. "Yes," I replied. I was surprised. "I know I should have told you in person, not like this." He rubbed his face with his hands, clearly nervous. "I just didn't know how to do it. How to say, our marriage is over. But it is." I looked him straight in the eye, trying to catch a glimpse of the truth. "Yes," he nodded. "I'm afraid it is. We've changed, become different people. I don't think we're right for each other anymore." I barely held back a laugh. How cliché, how pathetically banal. We've changed, grown apart. What about the second family, the child, the years of lies? But I remembered Larissa's advice and stayed silent. Let him talk. Let him spin his version. "I've thought about this a lot," Andre continued. "And I've come to the conclusion it'll be better for both of us. You deserve someone who can make you happy. I'm not that person anymore." "Why?" I blurted out. "What changed? What happened, Andre?" He looked away. Nothing specific, just the feelings faded. You must have noticed there's been no closeness, no connection, for a long time. Maybe because you gave all your energy to another woman, I thought, to your second family, but I said something else. I thought it was temporary, a rough patch. All couples go through that. Andre shook his head. "No, Marina, it's not temporary. I didn't want to admit it, but now I know. It's better to end things sooner rather than later." I felt anger rising. How dare he say what's best for me? But again, I held back. I needed to know his plans. "And how do you see the divorce?" I asked, keeping my tone businesslike. "Dividing the property, the house?" He relaxed slightly, relieved by the shift to practical matters. I think we can settle things peacefully. The house is jointly owned. We can sell it and split the money, or if you want to keep it, I'll give up my share in exchange for you waiving claims to my savings and business. I almost choked. He was offering the house, which we paid off together. Strange you never mentioned it, I said. We always shared everything. It's recent, he replied uneasily, and I didn't want to worry you with the details until it was stable. I see, I nodded. Well, I'll think about your offer, but I need time. Of course. He looked almost grateful. We've got time. The court hearing is in 3 weeks. He stood up, ready to leave. I'll grab a few things, since I'm here. Sure, I shrugged. It's your house too, for now. He went upstairs. I heard drawers opening. Would he notice the empty safe? That I had taken all his secrets? 15 minutes later, he came back with a sports bag. I'll go now, he said, pausing by the door. If you have any questions or make a decision about the house, call me. I nodded silently. He lingered, as if expecting something. Tears, maybe? A plea to stay. But I said nothing. I had nothing left to say. Not yet. Finally, he sighed, opened the door, and left. I watched as he walked to his car, got in, and drove away, taking with him a part of my life, a part that turned out to be an illusion. When his car disappeared around the corner, I closed the door and leaned against it. Only then did I let myself feel it all. The pain, the anger, the despair I'd held back during our conversation. The tears came, and I didn't stop them. Let them fall. Let me cry it all out. Now.
Everything had built up, but tomorrow I would start fighting. With trembling hands, I dialed Larissa's number. How did it go? Her voice sounded upbeat. He's still lying, I exhaled. Not a word about the other family. Just vague talk about fading feelings and an offer to leave me the house if I give up all claims. Perfect, Larissa said. That means he doesn't know you've figured everything out. We'll use that. I nodded, though she couldn't see me. He took a few things but didn't check the safe. Even better! The documents are with us. And you? I'm fine, I lied, though my chest felt tight. Want me to come over? No, I'll be alone for now. I'll call you tomorrow. I sat on the couch, staring at the shards of the photo frame. Symbolic. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A photo of me on the street returning from Larissa's. And text. Be careful. He's more dangerous than you think. My heart dropped. I rushed to the windows, pulled the curtain shut, locked the door. Who was watching me? Who had sent the warning? I reread the message and typed back, "Who are you?" The reply came slowly. A friend. Dig deeper. He's not who you think he is. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning, I told Larissa everything. Could be anyone, she said. Maybe someone from his new circle. Either way, we need to be prepared. Don't stay alone. I'm thinking of installing an alarm system. Good. I'll help find a private investigator. He'll check everything. The security company worked fast. I felt silly turning the house into a fortress, but now at least I could sleep more soundly. Then we found the investigator. His name was Mikhail, a former police officer. He would come tomorrow at 11. The night passed quietly. The alarm worked. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. In the morning, Mikhail arrived. Larissa came too. I handed the documents from Andre's safe to the detective. He studied them silently. Blue Ocean Investments? He frowned. I'll find out what this is. After the meeting with Mikhail, Larissa called me. I found something else. A woman wants to meet you. What woman? The one he was living with. A knot formed in my stomach. His mistress? Yes, she contacted us. She wants to talk. I agreed. Let's meet somewhere public. We chose the cafe Green Lamp. Larissa sat at a nearby table. I waited. A woman entered. Tall, beautiful, her hair tied up. I stayed silent. Vera began her story. Andre and I met 3 years ago. He told me he was divorced. We lived together. We have a son, Misha. Everything was fine until I found a message from you on his phone. I listened, clenching my fists. He lied to me, said your marriage was just a formality, that he'd divorce you soon. I believed him. That's a lie, I said. We were fine. Vera nodded sadly. I realized that later. I wanted to meet so you'd know the truth, I asked. Then why didn't he get a divorce if he'd made his decision? I think he didn't want to lose either of us. It was convenient for him. We both fell silent. Then Vera leaned in closer. Be careful. He's gotten involved with dangerous people. And this Blue Ocean Investments, it's not just business. I overheard strange conversations, hints about illegal activities. A chill ran down my spine. I saw those transactions, I said. Huge sums coming to his account. Exactly, Vera confirmed. I asked too, but he always dodged the question. We parted in silence. I thanked her. Larissa was waiting at the door. What now? I asked. We go to Mikhail, she said firmly. We need to know everything about this blue ocean. I nodded. There was no turning back. My life had split into before and after. And now, the most important thing was to endure. I felt the ground slip away beneath my feet. He said it so simply, so calmly, as if he had known it from the very beginning. I was silent, not knowing what to say, not knowing how to react. Victor didn't look away. On the contrary, he squeezed my hand tighter. I used to teach at the law faculty, he said, smiling faintly. I know how these things work. You have too clean, too even a biography. But in your eyes, the trace of another Heim. I suspected it, but I didn't know, of course. I felt the lump in my throat begin to dissolve. He didn't turn away. He wasn't afraid. He stayed by my side. You don't have to tell me everything, he continued, only if you want to. But if you're ready to go anywhere with me, I'm ready to go with you. I couldn't hold back my tears, not from fear, from relief, from love, from gratitude. Victor pulled me close and hugged me. And for the first time in many years, I felt that I could be not just alive, but truly happy. The next day, I called Sergei Matveyevich again. His voice was still calm and confident. He agreed, I said. Are you sure? I'm sure. And everything started spinning again. New documents, a new identity, new cities to choose from. We had to disappear. Again. But this time together. Before leaving, we went through everything required, instructions, checks, approvals. I watched Victor learn to live in the new reality. He did it with the same thoughtfulness with which he read books, didn't ask unnecessary questions, didn't complain, just held my hand when I started doubting, and repeated, "We'll manage." When everything was ready, we left Kaliningrad, just as I had once left my first home. Quietly, without a trace, without goodbyes. Now I had a new name, so did he. A new city, a new life,
but for the first time in many years, I didn't feel like it was an escape, it was a step forward. Victor and I opened a small cafe in a seaside town where nobody knew us. He was writing a book about myths and truth, about history and human destinies, and I kept the accounts, greeted guests, brewed coffee, simple, honest work, warm sea, quiet streets, people with whom you could talk about the weather and books without fearing that behind every word lurked a threat. One morning he came up to me with a cup of coffee and said, "You know, sometimes it seems to me that it's here you are real. Not an accountant, not a witness, just a woman who finally found herself." I smiled, because I knew he was right. I no longer felt like Marina Volkova, or even Anna Makarova. I was myself, a woman who had gone through betrayal, fear, loneliness, but survived, recovered, and learned to love. And everything else was just the beginning. My heart skipped a beat. "How did he figure it out?" I asked. Victor smiled. "I'm a historian. There were inconsistencies in your story, and I knew you were in hiding." I couldn't believe it. He knew, but didn't pressure me. "You didn't ask? I waited for you to tell me yourself." I squeezed his hand. "I've been in the witness protection program for 3 years. If you want to be with me, everything will have to change. Name, city, job." Victor was silent, then said, "I love you, and I'm ready to start from scratch." I cried from relief and love. "Are you sure? This is a big step." "You are the most important thing in my life." The next day, I told Sergei Matveyevich, and he supported us. The preparations began, new documents, a new life. Victor learned quickly and accepted my fears. A month later, we became Elena and Alexander Smirnov and moved to St. Petersburg. The night before leaving, we drank wine and dreamed. Victor spoke about Petersburg. I dreamed of a normal life without fear. In the morning, we left together. The apartment had a canal view. Jobs were arranged. I was an accountant, he a teacher. A year passed, and we married quietly. A year later, our daughter, Sophia, was born, our future. When Sophia was 6 months old, Sergei informed me. The threat was gone. Freedom had come. I told Victor. He asked what to do next. I admitted I wouldn't fully return. My life was now here, with him and Sophia. Victor agreed, didn't pressure me, afraid of losing me. Sophia broke free from my hand and ran to the sandbox. I passed by a bench where Andrei was sitting. Our eyes met. His showed a flicker of confusion, shock, and fear. He whispered my name as he stood up. I looked at him calmly, without anger, just at a man who had betrayed me. "Hi, Andrei," I said. He looked bewildered, shifting his gaze to Sophia, unsure of what to do. "Everyone thought you were dead," he began. "I know. You and your friends from Blue Ocean wanted that," I interrupted. He quietly admitted he didn't want to hurt anyone but just needed money. I didn't feel anger, only a strange calm and pity for a broken man. "It doesn't matter what you wanted. What matters is what you did. You betrayed our love, our marriage, our trust for profit." Andrei was silent, his head bowed. I surprised myself by saying, "I'm glad you're free. I hope you found your path." He asked if I hated him. "I forgave you," I answered sincerely, "for myself so I could move on." I looked at Sophia, my happiness and my future. Then I extended my hand to Andrei. "Goodbye. I hope you find your peace." He shook my hand gently, pain and gratitude in his eyes. I let him go, took Sophia's hand, and said, "Let's go home, baby. Daddy is waiting for us." We left, leaving behind the past, the pain, and the betrayal. I thought about how joy is born from pain, discovery from loss, love from betrayal. At home, Victor awaited us with a smile and open arms. He listened to my story without jealousy or fear, knowing that Andre was the past and he was my present and future. "You're an amazing woman," Victor said, hugging me. I felt proud of us and what we had built together. We looked at Sophia, living proof that after the darkest night comes a clear day. I realized I regret nothing. All the trials led me to a life I would never have chosen on my own, but that became my happiness and love. A love that needs no explanations or conditions. It simply exists always and despite everything. I don't know what will come next, but I will face the future without fear, with an open heart, with Victor and Sophia by my side, with our family, our home, and the life we create together.